On March 2nd, 2008, 15-month-old Ava Worthington of Oregon City died of bronchial pneumonia and a blood infection that could have been cured with antibiotics. Her parents were charged with manslaughter and criminal mistreatment because they relied on faith healing to cure her. Is the government overstepping religious freedoms in this case, or were the charges warranted? Matt, what do you think? We've seen another case just this week in Wisconsin of a diabetic girl dying because her parents would not treat her.
Well, and we've had these cases
over
the years,
in Oregon before.
off and on.
Right.
It's a difficult question to answer because it's not, there's a difference in when you're talking about child abuse, there's a difference between an affirmative action and a passive action. To purposely do something to hurt your child is sort of the way that we understand, abuse. But when you have a religious belief, and so you're choosing not to get medical treatment, that becomes a little bit more iffy. And ultimately, you're talking about parents making a medical decision about their children. And some medical decisions are the kinds of things that you have to decide whether or not. There are children who have cancer, for instance, and everyone decides that, I've seen this where the child doesn't want to go through the treatment. They've been through it before, and they make the decision that they don't want to take any more chemotherapy. Can people really make these decisions? Do you always have to make the decision to seek a certain amount of medical attention for your child? These are very difficult questions to answer, and do people have a right to say that religiously we don't believe in that answer when we get sick?
Not in the state of Oregon, as it seems.
I think there was a law enacted in 1999 that made it a lot more strict here, and so we've had a fewer incidents of this type of thing, and this is the first one in a while, right?
Yeah. Well,
wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think I think it's been heightened because of what's going on in Texas with the compound,
right?
The compound, and many of the 13 through 17-year-old young girls are now mothers, and the state, in terms of child welfare, has an obligation to protect children. And religion muddies that very kind of simple water. If there's abuse going on, it's supposed to be the state's job to come in and either stop it or clean it up. That's why we have foster systems. We've got doesn't always work. And when you throw religion on top of it, it makes it very tricky because, this Constitution is supposed to be a separation of church and state.
Well, I believe people prayed for a drug like penicillin, and by the grace of God we have that. And I think it's both a sin and a crime that people don't use the God-given gifts that we have.
So, in this case, I would say if you're an adult and this is your religion, you have the choice. You're an adult to choose for yourself, but I disagree with being able to force this kind of thing on a child.
I have problems. Having two children, the thought of me just kind of watching them waste away into nothing is beyond my comprehension. And no matter what I believe, the children's welfare should be coming first because that's how it works, progeny, and you need to take some sort of consideration. For me, it comes down to be very simple. When dogma runs away with common sense, and that's unfortunately what happens in some of these situations where you've got an overarching faith-based belief that's going to, fix everything, common sense goes out the window. And I think most parents rely heavily on common sense because there's no manual.
But I think you are dismissing the whole spiritual side of our existence. Ultimately, we all die. So you're asking the state to begin making decisions about who should live and under what circumstances.
They already do.
People have the right to their spiritual viewpoint about why they are here and what their relationship with God is, and seeking treatment and those kinds of things. I agree. To us at this table, because we don't share that belief, it's very easy for us to be dismissive of that. But at some point, this is a government of people. We're people first, and we create a government. And we have constitutional protections that allow us wide latitude in our religion and in gun ownership and in freedom of speech and assembly. And it's very dangerous to get into this preoccupation of, well, the majority of us think that this is acceptable to say, and the majority of us think this is acceptable to believe.
And yet everybody also recognizes that children, minors, need to be protected, and the Constitution guarantees us life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and chief among those is life. So
this is the debate.
Yeah, and
That's
this
a very
was
good
denied
argument.
the child. I think the parents should have their religious freedom, but they should have it behind bars for a few years.
Oh!
No, I mean,
the
you have to set an example, because intervening in this type of thing is very hard. I mean, nobody in the broader society knew this girl needed medical attention. And so it's not like, well, somebody didn't act on it.
Right.
They
usually
They
don't find
chose
out, right?
to not go that course, and it's a tragedy.
Well, and in Wisconsin, the issue in Wisconsin, the parents were not really affiliated with any real church or movement that disavowed medical attention. They simply, I don't know what they were running on in terms of thought processes or what. They just were not part of that. It wasn't so wholly a belief. Maybe it was, financial. I mean, it could have been lots of reasons. I don't know, because the story doesn't go. It's all headlines with a little blurb. But eventually, we have a society which is designed around protecting people from other people. And when it comes to children, they don't have the capability, especially small children, for making a defense of their own, this is what I want. And so it comes down to, it's a very fine line, it's a slippery slope in some cases, but it's children.
I agree.
Yep.
best bumper sticker ever is, "My karma just ran over your dogma."
Okay.